Good morning, Phoenix. This is Kyle Smith coming at you pre-recorded from in my bedroom.
And good morning, this is Jose Tapia, also pre-recorded.
Obviously, we are still on the air, despite talking about some controversial things week one.
And thank you for keeping us on the air.
Thank you, our overlords, for not taking us off for talking about you-know-who, Rayleigh Klein. Just thank you, I'm so gracious. Anyways, moving on. So, just only today as in Saturday when we're being recorded, Mr. Joe Biden, he had some interesting comments about court packing the Supreme Court. Now, as you know, with Trump's newly picked Amy Cohen,
Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, right?
Yes, right. That would make conservative pick judges 6-3 after Ginsburg has passed away. And so it's been a talking point lately about potentially packing the court to now then giving Democrats a lead in Democrat-picked judges, which has not the amount of court justice hasn't been upped since FDR in the 30s when they said, no, you can't institute these social programs. They're not constitutional. He said, oh, yeah? And then he added 2 more judges, which is what gave us our current 9. It used to be 7. So, anyways, a reporter asked today in Las Vegas reporter Ross DiMattei asked Joe Biden this today. Sir, I've got to ask you about packing the courts, and I know you said yesterday you aren't going to answer the question until after the election. But this is the number one thing that I've been asking about from viewers in the past couple of days. Biden responded, well, you've been asked by your viewers, who are probably Republicans, who don't want me continuing to talk about what they're doing to the court right now. The reporter continued, well, sir, don't the voters deserve to know? And Biden responded, no, they don't deserve to.
Unbelievable. Just telling the truth right there. That's what they really think about you. We don't deserve to know anything. They have everything in good hands.
You're supposed to vote for me, but you don't deserve to know what you're voting for.
That's to me, that's arrogance. I don't know about you. That just shows that they don't care about what people actually think.
Right. As I mentioned, the court hasn't been packed or hasn't had the number of judges up since FDR, and I give props to FDR for helping us get out of the depression and things like that, being the president at the time. But what a little baby. What a little baby FDR was in his little baby crib.
Can't get what he wants, so...
It's just funny to me that so the only 2 times the court would ever be packed, and I doubt it's going to happen now, because Joe Biden would need to win, and the Democrats would need to take both the House and the Senate to get this passed to do it. But it's just funny to me that it's only ever been done by a Democrat president, and now again being suggested by Democrats.
Maybe people should look into their history a little more.
Very interesting. It's almost like this party has been slimy forever.
Now, what do you say to people who say the Republicans have been slimy since forever?
Yeah.
It's just the same game, only 70, 80 years later.
Which, by the way, packing the Supreme Court shouldn't even be a liberal versus conservative thing or important in that nature, because the job of the Supreme Court is just to interpret the laws of the land already. They're not supposed to be activists of either side. They're just supposed to uphold the Constitution and federal laws.
Yeah, because I think even when Sotomayor was nominated to the Supreme Court, she was nominated and it was passed by both the Democrats and the Republicans. So there's been instances where it hasn't had to be so one-sided or so political. It just is now.
Yeah, but that goes back to even this has been going on for a while. You look at Kavanaugh, right? What happened to Kavanaugh? We talked about this before. But you go back and it didn't turn out as extreme, but as far as social impact. But you look at Clarence Thomas of the '90s.
Oh
This
yeah.
happened to him too, or
Why do they? Why
an
do they not want him?
accusation
Why do they want him? Why do they not want him on the Supreme Court?
because he was a Republican picked judge.
Of course.
Yes. Anyways, speaking of right versus left, yeah, this week's debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump was canceled because the debate
Commission.
committee they
Yeah.
said, well, it's got to be remote, and Trump said, nah, son. He said, nah. So now we have no debate. They want it to be remote because of obviously he was diagnosed with COVID, but by the CDC's own guidelines, by Tuesday rolled around, he should be safe and not have it anymore. Because incubation and quarantine phase is about 10 days. Tuesday would mark the 12th day since he tested positive. Obviously, he's been out of the hospital for about a week now. Well, that wasn't good enough. So now we just don't have a debate.
I mean, he's built different.
He built different.
He was like, I mean, do you think it was symbolic when he was taking off his mask on that balcony, showing the people, look, I've gotten through this. You shouldn't be scared of it.
Oh, absolutely. Which, obviously the media was going crazy at that imagery. They're like, keep your mask on! Be weak! And, while there was no one within dozens of feet of him. Which is just the dumbest thing. Also, he was outside.
I think more and more the masks are not about our health. It's more about how compliant we are. And when are people going to stop looking at maskless faces as a threat? Because you see it all. You see a family walking around in a grocery store or in Costco without their mask, and they get looked at from everybody. And I'm pretty sure they're not sick. So I think socially people still view others without a mask as a threat, and I don't know when it's going to change. I think it's going to be until after the election. It's going to be the deciding factor.
Yes. Except you, Tennessee Titans, keep your mask on.
Are they sick?
Oh, you didn't know about this? The Titans have like 20 positive cases. And obviously they're not in real danger of death. It's just they're screwing up the NFL schedule. Speaking of the debates, we really didn't go over the first debate because last week we were talking about Rayleigh Klein, that name I'm not supposed to mention again.
Did they tell us not to talk about her?
No, they didn't tell us that. I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
So it was, I don't think it was as much the dumpster fire as people made it out to be. I don't think it was a good debate, but I wasn't like sitting there and be like, oh, it's so terrible, horrible. Oh, I'm just like, that's, I'm like,
It didn't surprise me. The way who really surprised me was probably Biden for being more coherent than I thought he would be.
Right. Biden impressed me, but that's only because I had so little expectations. He just impressed me by the sense of he didn't gaffe as much as I thought he would. I don't think he had a good performance. He just didn't have the dumpster fire performance I thought he would. He did overuse the word clown. I think that's an overused insult just in general nowadays. It's everyone's favorite insult on Instagram comment sections.
Yeah, just put a clown emoji. That'll show him.
Yeah, but I thought Trump got he could have laid off a little at times just so that his stingers had more impact. The jab, and then you just let it simmer. Just let it sit a little bit. And when you're speaking all the time, then sometimes your more profound statements don't hold as much weight because there's no time to absorb them.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of went harping on about about Hunter Biden and his connection to Russia, but that point got kind of tired, and even the moderator was like, "Let's move on to something else."
I thought the Hunter Biden point was good, but it had to be coupled with saying, "You accused me for 4 years of being in bed with Russia, but look at your candidate." He didn't. He needed to harp back to Democrats' treatment of him and what they were accusing him of, because without that tie, it wasn't as strong as it could have been.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think, he's Trump is better at zingers, but when he goes on for long periods of time, he can, I think, get a little bit derailed at times and not over emotional, but you can tell he gets emotional.
This is why I'm most disappointed in the cancel debate, because now this was years ago, but going off memory, from what I remember in 2016, I remember him getting better with every debate. And so now with only 2 debates, he only had one debate of practice. I remember the 3rd debate being his best back in 2016, and now he only had his one debate of practice this election. So that's why I'm a little disappointed in the cancellation, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But even if Trump was even if he was still with COVID, or he was still contagious, we're smart. We could have found a way to put them on different sides of a plexiglass where there was no interaction between them before the debate.
Yeah, that's literally what Harris and Pence had. They had plexiglass things. It looked kind of goofy, but
yeah, but you can. It was the fact that you're sitting there facing somebody that you're talking to. That should constitute a debate. So this is, I think, a cop out by the Democrats, and it makes them look weak. And I think I think voters will kind of see that.
Right. Not to spend too long on the first debate. It's a little old news now, but Chris Wallace was Garbo. He's just Garbo. He pushed back on Trump several times, more than Biden. He would fact check Trump on some things, and that's not necessarily bad. That's if that's what you're going to do as a moderator, just be consistent, because he wouldn't fact check Biden on things like calling Trump accused Biden of calling the military an insult, which I'm not exactly sure if I could say on air, so I'm not going to say it. And I saw the video that he did say it. Biden could claim it's a joke, but he did say it. And Biden said, "I didn't say that." But he said, "I didn't say it at all." And Wallace didn't combat that. I'm like, "No, sir, you did. It literally happened like 2 days ago."
There are just scores of journalists.
The worst thing was, I think, when he brought up the very fine people line, because first of all, this is 3 years ago. All right, and we've already discussed that he wasn't talking about white supremacists. He's just talking about people at the protests and the showings that were going on. He wasn't talking about white supremacists. We've talked this to death. It was 3 years ago. He asked about white supremacy, which Chris Wallace already asked him about back in the 2016 debates. But he asked him about white supremacy. How is that relevant when we have people dying in the streets to the riots that are going on now? We have definitely some political violence going on. But they're not conducted by white supremacists. That's not a relevant issue.
No, distract and amplify extreme voices to make your opponent look like they're about to slit your throat and get people to fear.
Right, I'm just trying to think of major incidents lately of confirmed white supremacists, not where the perpetrator was white and the victim was black, and it's unconfirmed if race had to do with it. Think of where race was definitely relevant, or ideology. So Charlottesville, but again, like we said, it was 3 years ago now. One was killed when he ran his car into the crowd. Dylan Roof, that was even longer ago. And I'm just trying to think of really major confirmed white supremacist attacks, and there's not a ton that come to mind. Whereas I'm seeing political violence weekly now, and it's definitely usually not on the right. Governor Whitmer of Wisconsin
Michigan.
Was there was just a plot to kidnap her, right? And those and the early news cycle was saying, oh, we're implying it was Trump's fault, and it turns out these people were outright anarchists. They weren't like right-wing conservative Trumpers. The leader had anti-Trump posts on his Facebook. They were against all government. So it's right-wing violence at this current stage. Really not an issue.
But I mean, I'm thinking about what would actually drive anarchists to try to kidnap a governor. I mean, I can't imagine what Michigan people are going through in terms of the lockdown when I hear it's one of the most extensive in the nation. So maybe they thought they were doing the people a favor.
I'm sure they did. Not that we're supporting that. I don't think that's what Jose's saying.
No. What were they gonna do? Ransom her off?
No, they were like gonna try her.
Like court.
They were gonna, I don't know, within their little group, they're gonna try her for treason.
Wow.
It was funny reading.
Huh.
So yeah, as general, it was. Oh, what was interesting about going back to the first debate, really quick, and then we'll move on because again, it's kind of old news at this point. That Trump did extremely well with Spanish-speaking voters. And that was just very interesting to me. The Telemundo poll had voters, Spanish-speaking voters, supporting him, thinking that he won 2-1.
Yep, like 66% to 34%.
And so then again, I didn't think like he knocked that performance out of the park or anything. Because I could be honest. I'll tell you right now, obviously I'm a Trump voter, but I'll tell you right now, I don't think it was his best performance. It was just very interesting to me that Hispanics were preferred him in the debate that much.
I think with a lot of Hispanic voters, they react and respond to strength, and Biden was not. He was getting talked over. He was getting interrupted. And say what you will about Trump being rude, he did not display weakness at the debate, which I think is something that translated well to Hispanics. Maybe they couldn't grasp, if they couldn't understand Spanish or English, if it was translated, they didn't quite grasp all the complexities. But tone is definitely something, and stance is something that can be seen and affects how your argument is viewed, I think.
I wouldn't put Smart and Joe in the same sentence. Those bad people. But moving on. The NBA Finals are going on. Who knew? I barely knew. I knew as much as I knew the NBA Finals were going on just as much as the WNBA Finals were going on, which is I barely knew. Don't laugh.
Oh.
I mean, you can laugh. WNBA. Anyways, what's interesting about this is you people may or may not know is that since the bubble started, the NBA bubble in Disney World, Orlando, Florida, ratings have definitely been taking a huge decrease. How much of a decrease, you may ask? Well, games 3 and 4 of the NBA Finals between the Heat and the Lakers, and just remember that the Lakers are the biggest franchise in the NBA, and LeBron has been the biggest NBA star for the past 2 decades. Despite that, games 3 and 4 had about a little over 4 million viewers each, which is a 70% drop from last year's games 3 and 4, which were already dropped from the previous year. 4 million viewers is like the average view count of a PewDiePie video, and he uploads 10 minutes, a 10-minute video daily. 4 million viewers for one of the major sports finals, not regular season, not playoffs, the finals, the end, the 2 best teams in the league. It blows my mind, even if if I got disinterested in the NBA years ago. And there are people who are making excuses like, oh, It's not politics. It's not this or that. Yeah, it is. Which is why Commissioner Adam Silver announced this week that they're removing political stances from their jerseys, which, for those of you who don't know, people were able to put political slogans on their jerseys, pre-approved political slogans from the NBA on their jerseys, and there was slogans on the court. They're removing that next year. It makes me wonder, it's almost as if all this corporate activism isn't really genuine.
No, I don't think so. It's just they were chasing what they thought would get them ratings, and it didn't. They didn't fly so good.
They didn't fly so good. The NBA is a culmination of the sort of thought I kind of hate from elites, even though these people aren't elite as far as intelligence. The NBA's culture is just really individualistic, but in a bad way. Everyone's just me, because they're small teams of 5 men, and a single person could carry a team, which doesn't lead to very just cooperation between people. It's just very individualistic, which has led to this culture of people thinking that they're so much better than they are. They're so much more moral than they are. People should listen to me. J.R. Smith just came out the other day. He's on the Lakers. Just came out the other day and said our voices are more important than President Trump. And I'm like, man, you're getting... Son? Trying to do Joe Biden voice. You're getting 4 million viewers per finals game versus, 150 million plus, Trump voters.
Yeah, you're real important.
Yeah. Hey, I loved you, JR, when you beat that guy during the riots because he smashed your car. I love that, which happened. For those of you who don't know, during the initial riots, someone broke his car window and then he beat that guy. I appreciate you for that, but this ain't it. And so obviously, just all this moral grandstanding and literally, unlike the NFL, who have some kneeling, basically the entirety of the NBA kneeled during the anthem. And at that point, it's like, why even play the anthem to begin with? And you're just seeing the huge effect. Not only that, but probably their stances on China, how hypocritical they are on China, saying like, oh, we still have slavery in the U.S., but then they have camps in China. They take all the Chinese money. They're heavily invested with Nike, who basically operates sweatshops in China. It even came out that the NBA's official camps in China, basketball camps, had large-scale incidents of physical abuse.
No.
Just beating kids. They tried to cover that up, of course.
Why are they beating kids?
Because their Chinese instructors are mean.
Are they trying to make a bunch of Yao Mings?
Oh, for those of you who don't know, by the way, Yao Ming, I like that guy. He seems like a good dude. He was the result of a government experiment. Did you know this?
No, I didn't.
Did you know this? The Chinese government found the tallest man and the tallest woman and said, hey, they made them marry. And out popped Yao Ming. True story, 100%. I'm not lying.
The Chinese know no bounds.
And so the NBA is killing itself, and I say good.
Man.
Not only that, it's just an inferior product now, and there's no emotional ties. So the Lakers on their current team in the finals don't have a single player on their team that they actually drafted. They just bought the team, and it's, for me, as I know, as a Steelers fan, diehard, like, I get emotionally vested. I follow like a lot of the guys online. Like, I keep up with the team, the feel of the team, because I feel like if I were rooting for people I didn't like, then what's the point? Like, I wouldn't enjoy that. And so I would assume that's the same for other people. I'm sure people who just care about wins and losses. I'm sure there are people who actually care about emotional investment. And how can you get emotionally invested in a league where teams half the team changes every year? That it's just not good for any sort of long-term investment.
Then, when are you really supporting a team, or are you just supporting the names,
Yeah,
the players, who have the most money?
to me, it's just not a good business model for long-term emotional investment. And getting people emotionally invested is what gets them to be diehard fans and buy all the merchandise and watch all the games. And to me, that's just not a good model for keeping investment.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
which is what leads to all, which I think directly ties into their uh, political culture, where where again, they're all enabled to think that they're so special and they have all this power and they don't need to think about the effects on the business. They can just say and do what they want, even if it's extreme. And obviously, they can't because we see what that's leading to. That's leading to a whole 4 million viewers in your league final.
Damn. I think where the money goes, opinion follows. So this little experiment with politicization of your team's opinions, I don't think it went so hot.
Yeah, and I've seen people argue like, "Oh, every sports viewership is down," and that's true. That is true. But the most extreme by far is the NBA, who also has the most extreme political stances by far. Very interesting. We're now in the midst of the NFL season. A lot of the political stuff has gone the wayside. Like a lot of it, it's simmered down. It's more just focused on football. Where the NBA, they're still kneeling at every anthem. Their slogans are on their jerseys. You know, it's still very prevalent, and we see those effects.
Just play the game. I mean,
Well, it's not that you can't have a political opinion. It's just about A, keeping it separate from the business, and B, not being so arrogant about it, and that you just assume that you're right at all points in time and no one could ever else have a legitimate counterpoint. And that sort of arrogance is what's led to the worst.
Yep.
I mean, there are people who disagree with me where I look at them and I'm like, they're good people. They are willing to learn and listen still, even if they still come to a conclusion I disagree with. I can see it in them. They're willing to listen. They're not putting themselves on a hill and telling me I'm the leader. You all listen to me. Only I can be right. But that's what the NBA is doing. So
it makes sense. Their players, I think, have influenced the top. I don't know. Whoever runs things, they thought it would be a good idea, and it's not.
well, we know who runs things over there. It's China.
It is China. Get them out of here.
Get them out. They can have their league in China.
The Yao Ming League.
Okay. Anyways, that's all the time we have. Tune in next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. for more of our shenanigans.
Goodbye, guys. Have a good day.
Have a good day.